I taught school for 5 years before I was married, and he grew up just a mile north of here. I was born about 2 miles over, so we knew each other as children. Went to the same school for some years, and then in grade 7 and 8, whereas the school I attended was Errett School, that was north, and it was a country school, a one-room schoolhouse. Part of the time there were as many as 42 children, one teacher, uninsulated building. I guess you'd call it a furnace with kind of a jacket heater, and one of the young girls that lived just across the road was hired to light the fire before school started. So in winter, sometimes if it was windy and cold, it would be noon before the school was really warmed up. We wore overshoes, and most of the girls wore ski pants to keep warm. We didn't take them off. My paternal grandfather, he had to earn some money. Now, he was a trained stonemason, so when he had a chance to build stone buildings, that's what he worked at. Two of the families that were best known around Pilot Butte were Andrew Martin and his brother-in-law William Bettridge. They came in 83, that's 1883, just after the railway was through, and they started the first industry in Pilot Butte, and they started the first brick factory, the Regina Brick Works, along the railway crossing, the CPR crossing. A lot of the red brick houses in the transition area in Regina are made from them. My grandfather Leibel's his third house. The first one was dug into a hillside. Then they moved the whole farmyard further north to a more suitable location. That one was a building made with poplar logs plastered with mud and straw mix, earthen floor. Grandfather Zinken helped build on that one. He wasn't the contractor, but after that house got to be too small, because both my grandparents had big families, that grandfather, they had 16 children, but 11 grew to adulthood. Then they had a real fancy brick house built a 3-story, but it caught fire and burnt to the ground. The bottom half of it was stone, and the top half was wood. The Martins, the one that had started the brick factory, the Martin's son, Andrew Sproul Martin, became the first teacher in the Pilot Butte School, which my father attended, and some of his other siblings too. It had the 2 stories, and they attended for grade 8 and 9. The older kids were taught upstairs by Hubert Evans, and his wife taught the lower grades. My maternal grandfather was a stonemason, and in 83, my sister and I took our 90-year-old aunt, his oldest child, to see how many buildings we could find that my grandfather had worked on. She was like a magnet for the receptions that we got. That was the brick house that my grandfather had built after this one. And this is the present house that's on the farm. It was very modern for its time because it had electric lights and so on, and where a lot of the neighbors were still living in mud houses. And Margaret Hernyuk and Frank Corvenmaker and Larry Easton were working on the book Legacy of Stone, which is all about stone houses in Saskatchewan, just for our own family interest. There's now a copy in the Saskatchewan archive. Unfortunately, we waited too long. My dad, who knew all the building that his dad had worked on, had died already, so we didn't know all the buildings. The ones that we knew he had worked on. And the last one he worked on